Hey there and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to SnowRunner. Today I'm going to make a different type of episode though, a nice quick one I hope, because I kind of want to teach a couple new players what suspension they kind of have to use in what situation or what they actually do in which difference. There are four types though. There's a stock one, there's an active one, there's a crawler and there's a race one. A lot of people just use one over the other, but there are massive differences though that can actually help you out with your truck. But remember, what I'm going to show is not set in stone in terms like it is the end all of do all, because it also depends on your truck type, how wide your truck is, how tall or how higher up your truck is, because then the center of gravity is different. You also need to think about the torque, power to weight, and the wheel types and the terrain types. It's a very complex game though, behind the scenes, right, on paper and all. So it is just a guide on helping you balancing it out a little bit where you might feel where you are struggling. Now, I'm going to use the Mercedes-Benz Actross 3332 for this one. Why? Because it's one of the newest trucks out there. And how to say, I do love the design, so that's a personal little thing right there. But what is more important though is that this truck is absolutely powerful. And I think that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the more powerful or the OP trucks, where I'm also taking some very difficult trucks, you know, like here and there. So it's actually a perfect showcase where we can really push the suspension type. Now, this format is also going to be like I'm going to record different scenarios and I'm just going to put them side by side. And hopefully we do see the difference as clearly as possible. But the setup will always be the same, except the stock or suspension right now will be different though each time. And I will tell you on screen which is which. Now the engine is the Merex V8 420X. Gearbox is Offroad. Suspension will change, now it's stock. Tires are the 50-inch OHD ones. The reason why, if I go for the Mercedes ones, it might be a little bit too powerful, like the 46er or the 50-inch over here. The reason for that is though, right, they are specialized tires and they are only for the Mercedes, making it actually a little bit of a null for other trucks in comparison. Winds, advanced, medium. Doesn't really matter, you can upgrade, you can do whatever you want. Differential lock, engageable. All my tests will be on low gear plus. All-wheel drive and differential lock will always be on. Snorkel doesn't really matter though, but we use the stock one. You can actually use this one. It doesn't really add much more for this truck. And the frame add-on, yeah, this does not matter either. But we kind of could use the fan body add-on just to weight it down a little bit. I think that is actually a nice little fun extra. Yeah, I think that is actually a good choice. Although, doesn't look too good right now, does it? Now, the first thing what we are going to do though is going to go to a location where we actually can climb some difficult terrain. And we want to see how good the stock is in comparison to the race suspension and the stock crawler, I mean, and the difference between the three. And the active one will get a special little thing in the end, just to explain the difference. Around here is a beautiful little climb though. It might not look like much, but there are a lot of rocks in here and there, and with a body add-on like that, we might actually tip over. And, you know, that also shows about the flexibility and the center of gravity issues, the higher you might actually get. And the distance and the differences will be shown, of course. There are big dips and big rocks everywhere around that corner. Now, I highly recommend doing this with every new truck that you get, because every new truck feels completely different. Even if you try different suspensions out, just find a straight road somewhere, then accelerate and wiggle your tires left to the right while you are driving, of course, and that way you do see how tip heavy your truck actually is. Let's go. Let's compare all three at once. Now that was a fun little test, right? You know, oh boy. Now you can actually see the massive differences though, and why one is more stiff than the other. The stock is of course the stiffest. It has very little wiggle room, and by that it was more stable. Perfect for, let's say, a white Western Star 6900 twin steer. Because if you put a race suspension on that big boy, you are going to have a very good time if you are very good with it, because you will destroy mud left and right, you know. But be careful with rocks. You will really have to be careful there, or else you're going to regret every moment you were born. So the thing though is, right, you know, it gives the most balance. Now with the race one, we already had a couple of issues, right? We were going left and right off the street. And with the crawler, because it has so much more wiggle room and is not as stiff as the raced one, we did actually go left and right way quicker though. The cabin was shaking, the rear, you know, the surface station was actually shaking left and right. It was a mess though, right, you know, and it was very difficult for me to actually keep it on the road. So that is the negative of that one. So yeah, you know, that's all beautiful things that you have to think about. Now we are going to go straight towards one of the toughest places though, for a mud test. It might not look as much right over there to the left, but it absolutely destroys weaker trucks. They all get stuck in there, and even the big boys do have issues. I'm not talking about the twin steer or the Caterpillar though, those things are very unique, but a lot of trucks do suffer from that location right in front of us. So let's see how far we can actually go. Now, yep, we are definitely going to put them all side by side again. It makes most sense. And I'm going to keep going from this angle because I want you to actually go back by the videos and check the suspension height and how the wheels are moving up and down compared to the cabin and compared to the terrain. And study that for a second, because if you do that, you get the best knowledge of how this is actually working. So as you can see though, we are right here in time here, and I decided to actually do this mud test over here because of a very simple reason though. It is a little bit more realistic to face this type of mud, which is deep, shallow and rough at the same time, and just in different places. It has water, it has everything. The two, although the one in Wisconsin is quite troublesome though for a lot of trucks, this is a more realistic thing that we might face 24/7 in the game. Now I will put it in a differential log over here, as you can see. The reason why we got stuck to the right side is not because of the race or the crawler suspension, but it is actually to simulate that the suspension doesn't matter much though for this type of task. The reason why is because we were driving over the same type of terrain where we did already drive before, meaning we will sink in a little bit deeper. Alright, that is the key thing, because that's something we fight non-stop. But it is not the end-all is-all with stock though. But it does help clearly to traverse. As you can clearly see over here, we are carrying the crawler. It has an absolutely easy time. But that is something that I really wanted to point out though, right? You know, like, if you're going to drive over the same spot, it's going to be tougher and tougher and tougher. It doesn't matter which suspension you're using, because I've shown all of that as a proof of concept. Now, if we are going to go back over to our garage, and we have installed right now or stock. Yeah, this is the stock suspension. And we're just going to go to the other side. Just a new line again. Everything is working rather beautifully too. So keep in mind, different paths, even on the same road, lead to different results. And as you can see, we're just kicking ass over here too. Now I remember being in this swamp before, right next to the garage, and testing out other trucks in many episodes ago though. And a lot of trucks did get stuck here. So remember that this truck makes easy peasy mode of this terrain right now, because it's very powerful. But a lot of other trucks, you really do need to check the suspension. But it's just a very small bonus, and that is what I'm pointing at right now. This has more to do with torque and the tires that you are using than with the suspension. But again, if your axis is hitting the dirt non-stop, you are going to have a little bit of drag. If your nose of your truck, right, the front, is actually hitting the dirt, you are going to be full on stop. Like right now we are actually hitting something here. No, we are not. Interesting. Or we were and we just crushed it. But the thing though is, right, you know, with hidden things, what is often in mud, like logs down there, as you did see, and there are rocks here and there, suspension helps. But for mud alone, it does not do too much, and it is more dependent on your tires. Alright, so the bigger the tires, the better it is, and the better mud tires, the better it is too. Let's go to snow. Alright, we are right here in Kola Peninsula. We are in the Mandra map, and we are going to change our tires right now from the OHD1 to the chained tires. We are going to go with the 50 inchers, and then we are going to find some deep snow. Now that was a beautiful test though, and I will go to my conclusion later on, but right now I want to show you two more suspension types. Well, I forgot about one though, because I never really truly used it, but here we go with the chain suspension mode. Now some of them have an active suspension, like the Kola 74760 right over here. What it actually does, you can actually change from stock into race suspension. This actually helps you to elevate your truck a little bit higher up, so you can get more clearance. Think about logs in mud, stone in mud, or actually crawling over mud when you don't have a crawler suspension. It is a very beautiful thing to have, and it really can help you out in very difficult situations. So if you have the chance to get an active but not other ones, don't stay with stock, always go for the active one. Now certain trucks like the GMC Brigadier 8000 have a special suspension though. It's called a custom one. It is higher up though than a normal one, and the clearance by that is much higher. By a normal suspension, I actually do mean a normal raised one, right? The stock, yeah, it's clearly higher than that, but it's a little bit higher than the custom one. Now, as you can see though, there's a lot of clearance here between the tire and the suspension itself, or the frame actually, right in the back, and the mud protector. So the thing though is, if you do well, actually use it though, and the same goes for the crawler and the normal race one and the active one, the higher your truck gets, the more tip heavy it gets. And make sure that your tires are big enough or wide enough to actually counter the center of gravity a little bit. Now let's go into differential lock and all-wheel drive and low gear plus, just like we did with the Mercedes-Benz. And as you can see though, it has a ton of clearance, but did you see that one side floating in the air? That would not have happened with the crawler though. The crawler will just push that other tire all the way down to the floor for ultimate balance. Oh, and we are actually stuck there on a log, but there we go. Yeah, logs are very notorious though. But yeah, you know, like it is way more stuff, and it's well, a little bit tougher though, I might say, to actually cross all of this. As you can see, the balance, you are higher up, meaning gravity is worse the higher you go. You're going to tip a little bit harder. And not just that, because it's actually a very stiff suspension, and if you had some extra weight on it, we would already have tip, by the way, that we are just pressing pedal to the metal here, but it makes everything a little bit worse. But the active one has the most clearance of them all. It is absolutely good for clearing massive boulders and everything in between. So if your favorite truck has this and not a crawler, go for it, I would say. Just be a little bit aware that it's just like the race suspension, but with a whole lot of extra stiffness. Alright, I hope that's all clear though. I hope you learned a little bit, and in summary I would say that suspension has nothing to do, well, it has very little to do with mud. It has everything to do with clearing objects like rocks, sand, little dips in the road and little bumps in it, right? You know, like tiny hills that we do see here all the time. So logs, rocks, boulders. You might argue it has a small impact though. So on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 to 10, I would say it has an impact of 3 for mud, snow and water, because you did see the clear equal treatment with the stock, raised and crawler. There was almost no difference there, and that's why I don't give it a massive number. Now, as you do see right over here, we have a couple of bumps already. Yeah, suspensions are made for that. So if you want to conquer mud and stuff like that, like snow, etc., be sure to get the correct tires. That is the main indicator for that. Why? Because it all has to do with grip and not with clearance. Alright, that might be a different episode though if you want to. So yeah, by that, if I forgot something, do let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you have a tip for other players or for me, right? You know, I would love to hear it. And I hope you do enjoy a video like this, because it's rather different from my normal routine. Alright, stay happy and healthy. Don't forget to subscribe though. Bye bye.